Welcome to Julie Laughton Living, featuring engaging conversations on creating the life, business, and luxury home of your dreams. With over 30 years of experience in the design build industry, Julie has completed over 1,000 remodels and custom homes in Southern California and provides architecture, design, engineering, and general contracting as a unique one-stop shop for her clients. Let's join the conversation now. Julie, it's great to be with you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
You're welcome and glad to be here, David.
Hey, today we're talking about, on our very first podcast episode, how you got started in the industry. So take me back to your childhood. Where did you grow up? What was life like? And did you envision yourself leading a multi-million-dollar design build business? Did you ever envision yourself leading something like this?
Well, I grew up in a small town in Iowa, and I am an artist. And when I was young, I was, 8 or 9 years old. I was drawing cats and dogs and horses. I love horses. And then that turned into cars and engines, and then it turned into buildings. So by the time I was 14, I was a master draftsman. I actually drew my whole high school, 3 blocks long, every brick. And I thought, oh, I think I got something here. So at the same time I was doing that, I'd been a golfer. My grandpa ran the golf course. So I was a golfer starting, and I was MVP of the golf team 3 out of 4 years in high school, and had 2 scholarship offerings to college for golf, which I did not take. I was tennis champion, skeet shooting champion, archery champion, all before the age of 18. But the other thing I did is I was the youngest certified lifeguard in Iowa at 14. So I began lifeguarding as my first job was at 15. And I did that all through high school every summer. And I taught little kids, 8, 9, 10 years old, and I taught adults how to swim. So I already knew that I had a leadership ability in me, but I was shy because I'm an artist. I couldn't do public speaking. I would freeze. So, but I'm an artist. And, but along with all those skills, I played the drums, the piano, and the bass violin. And I actually carried that thing to grade school. I remember 6 blocks away every day. That was funny. But this big bass fiddle. But I play the drums to this day by sound. But I did play the piano and read music and play in the concert band, the jazz band, the marching band, and then a rock band. That was kind of fun. But all this artistic talent, it's like, oh my God. But then I got that other side of the brain, which is the analytical, detailed, mechanical engineering side. So when I went to college, first I thought, let's just be an artist because I can really paint and draw. And I thought, nah. And then I thought, let's do architecture. So I started in architecture, and then I got bored because I was thinking designing high-rise buildings, the structure didn't appeal to me. So then I switched to landscape architecture, and that was fun. But I was like, I don't really want to memorize the names of all these rocks. So and then I finally ended up in the interior design classes, which were how humans function in the space they live and work, which is ergonomics. And this is interior design, not decorating. It's interior design of how humans function in their shelter or their space. So if you take the architecture and the interior design, I'm more interested in how to build the building that functions for the client. I'm not interested in building a monument. Or I do commercial design and still a little bit, but in the residential, that whole combination in college is how it got me there. And then of course I got busy with my business, and I didn't know I was a natural born leader.
Let me jump in here. Let me take a breath here for a second, Julie. Hold on a second. This is amazing. Okay, so you've got all these skills that are artistic and also athletic skills, experiences in high school. You went to college. Where did you go to college?
Iowa State University, which is the Cyclones, not the Hawkeyes.
And you graduated with a degree in?
It's a Bachelor of Design with an architectural, landscape architecture, and interior design. All of it is in there. So I did 6.5 years at college.
Wow. Okay. So after you graduated, did you start working for someone else, or did you start your business right away?
No. The first thing you do is you get your 4 years of professional experience. So I moved to New York City, and my summer internship, thanks to my counselor, was a job at an architectural firm, Sheridan Horinsky. And that was fun. And no, it's Andrew Blackman. on 36th Street. And so I worked for an architect the first summer, then I went back and worked for Sheridan Harinsky. And that's when I did all these 100,000 square foot corporate office spaces for Bank of America on Park Avenue. And then I got a job with this designer woman who did all the model apartments at every high rise in New York City. And I worked for Milstein, Lefrak, Zeckendorf, Silverman, and a couple other guys who are now long dead. But it was the 5 top developers in Manhattan. And I did every model apartment, but she wasn't really a designer. So I was presenting personally to the developers in their offices with my boards and my design. And then I was running the crew of people that were installing the units. So I was doing all this at 22, 3, 4, 5 years old in New York City. And I was successful, and my talent is what got me in the door, and people loved it because of my high energy. But yeah, it was my experience in New York City. And then I moved to California. And I thought, I'll just keep working for people, but it didn't happen because I'd had too much experience and I was overqualified. So I didn't fit in that same slot anymore. And I had to grow up and realize, oh my God, I need to start my own business because I can't get a job, because I didn't fit in that slot anymore of employment. I was overqualified. They kept telling me you're overqualified. And I didn't know what that meant because I was kind of kicked out of the nest. So then I got a job in sales, which I'd never done before. And then I realized I was a natural born salesman, basically, because I sold $1 million of custom wood made cabinets with a German cabinet maker that didn't speak English to a bunch of people in Beverly Hills. So I got recognized by all these people. And then that's what got me to Newport Beach, because I designed a showroom at the corner of Bristol and Jamboree called Greenbrier Kitchens. And then that's what got me to Laguna. So here's this girl that can do architecture, design, and draw your kitchen. And, she doesn't sell cabinets. She's a designer. Like, she really knows what she's doing. Like, she does the whole thing. So I started doing all these ladies' houses, and they were on these budgets by their husbands, and they were hiring all these contractors and handymen. And it was a freaking nightmare. So they would fire their contractor and have me finish owner builder. So I got experience in Laguna Beach by helping homeowners survive their remodels. And then I became a licensed contractor and set the rules and changed my life and my client's life. So that's what happened. It evolved, it was a process, but I am a natural born leader, I guess. I'm the oldest of 2. My mom's the oldest of 12. But I think it's in our DNA to be this way.
So back to the original question. Could you have imagined when you were a kid leading a multi-million-dollar design build company? Did you think, yeah, no, I saw myself there? Or were you envisioning and dreaming of something different?
Well, I never got that far. I just thought maybe I'll be an architect, and which meant I'd probably work in a big company and have my own office. So that I think I always knew that would be a bigger business. But I never really penciled in the contractor part of it until it happened naturally. And that's really what I was meant to do, just so you know. And every job I've ever had, I was in that position, since I was 21, standing in the dirt. So I haven't changed what I'm doing, just so you know, in 21, in 35 years. I've been doing the same thing since I was 21. So but getting the contractor's license is what changed the game and changed my life for the better. So that's kind of cool. But I never, it's funny because I was always kind of an in charge person, and not that I'm bossy, but I definitely am I was always the one to say, well, this is what we're going to do. And this is how we're going to do it. And we're going to do it right. And we're going to obey the rules, so I kind of was always that kind of kid. Yeah.
Sure. So through the arc of your journey of your career, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've faced over the years?
Well, you gotta, when you start your own business, you're broke, and you don't know what to do or how to do it. And there's nobody to help you because you can't afford to pay anybody. So in the beginning, it's tough because you're on your own when you start your business. And I had to kind of guess, how am I going to do this? But I took a lot of advice and through trial and error, like, thank God I advertise in the newspaper regularly. That same ad I ran 35 years ago, almost 30 years ago, is still what gives me my business today, because I made sure that my name is branded. So, and I did that by myself with just common sense and like advice from my mother, just people that I can trust in business. And my mom's got a master's degree. She's, I grew up with people that are in business. So, that help. But the point is, it's hard because you wonder some days, am I going to make it in the beginning? Because, it's hard, and no one's there to really help you. Because when you're in business, you're competing against everybody. So and then I'm a triple threat. So then, it's weird because, the minute I became a contractor, it changed, because then she's a real threat. So, it's tough. Yeah. And, and then I got jealousy on top of it, and, it sucks, but yeah.
So I hear when you're first starting out, it's challenging. You don't have money, you don't have necessarily the resources, and so you had to be scrappy. What's some advice that you would give to someone who is just starting out that doesn't have those resources? You put an ad in the paper that was helpful for you to get the word out. You branded your name. How did you navigate things even emotionally? You know what I mean? Like the stress of it all, the pressure of making things happen.
Well, you have to, you don't want to second guess yourself, but I always, like my grandma always told me, make a list of goals. And if it gets tough, make that list for minute by minute or day by day. And, but sure, have your goals for the year and 5 years. So my mom and my grandma were always good about goal setting. But then, like my mom, I would talk to her about business scenarios back and forth, because she's a businesswoman and also broke the glass ceiling at her age group years ago. So the point is, you have someone to talk to. So if you don't have someone in your family, find a mentor. Because I guess I could say my mom was my mentor, because you have these business situations that come up and you got to make a decision. And some of the decisions cost you money, some don't. Some of them might cost you your reputation. So you got to have a mentor, someone to bounce ideas off of. So I guess that would be my best advice. Find a good mentor. And then, don't kill yourself with alcohol and food or whatever you do to medicate yourself, because it's hard. You don't want to be numb, but you want to, take care of yourself, because it's tough out there. And don't fall for the fact that, you can solve a problem by just not being present. You got to be present, and it's tough some days. So don't hurt yourself. Don't personally hurt yourself. It's tough enough. That's my point. Stay healthy. Drink water.
So, I'd love to broach the subject of women in construction, and we're going to talk about that in subsequent episodes. But it is very unique for you to be a woman overseeing all of this entity in terms of architecture, design, construction. It's not the norm in our culture. How has that been a challenge for you, and how has it also benefited you?
Well, it benefits me and my clients because you don't have to wait for someone. We don't have to worry about the dysfunctional team member who doesn't want to get the plans done, who doesn't want to do the work, who's stolen the money because he took a deposit he shouldn't have taken, and he doesn't perform the work because you can't chase after it after it's gone. So it eliminates all that as a one-stop shop. So my life is not stressful because I can control the outcome, but it's still stressful when you have to deal with other people. But I eliminated the stress by becoming the one-stop shop. So that is the secret from me. But the other part of the question, is
Being a woman,
yeah.
how has your the fact that you are a woman been a challenge over the course of your career, and how has it been a benefit in some way?
Well, when you're a woman, of course, the men in the construction don't think you know what you're talking about, because how could she possibly have any experience? So in the beginning, I was constantly challenged, and it wasn't made fun of. But what men do is they challenge you and they ask you questions, because men are more fair than women, just so you know, because if they realize that you know what you're talking about, they fall in line. Because construction, once you're on the construction site or the slab, it's all business. So if you know what you're talking about, you get the respect. That's it. Doesn't matter if you're a woman. But the challenge is, it's like, every time I go to the city in the beginning, I put the plans on the counter, and the engineer comes up and looks at me. Are you the homeowner? I'm like, no, I'm the architect, the designer, and the contractor. Okay, let's go. So, I got so sick of that in the beginning, because I was like, really, just because I have a figure. So I started wearing a uniform, which is a polo shirt with my name 2 foot high on the back, Julie Laughton Design. and now it has the construction. But I just started wearing a uniform because I got tired of the assumption that just because I look a certain way, I am some housewife or someone that stays home all day and a helpless female. And that drives me bananas because there are people that think that way to this day, and it's tough. But you know, the message out there is know your stuff, and you don't have to take crap from anyone. But yeah, that was the challenge in the beginning. The pretty girl coming to the counter. Oh my God, I didn't even do my hair and nails back then. And I just still got shit. So yeah.
And what would you say has been the benefit of being a female in what has typically been kind of more of a male dominated industry?
Well, men listen to women because they're all, if a man respects his mom and he respects women, oh my God, you get so much more respect because men are territorial and kind of weird with each other about that. It's like a freaking prison yard on the slab yard sometimes. But when women show up, their attention shifts because, especially the way you look. So it's hard for them to focus maybe on what you're saying. But I come to the job dressed, pretty masculine and a power outfit, meaning boots and jeans and a jacket, usually nothing that suggests femininity. And but the point is, it's you get the respect from how you conduct yourself. So it's not been challenging as I've gotten into it. It's been easier, but men listen different to women because of how they grew up with the woman. It's weird because men talk to each other different than they talk to women, just like women talk to each other different than they talk to men, because women talk nonstop over each other and men talk and pause, and they constantly give each other shit and talk about what's happening and who did this and who did that. It's a little different, but there's a whole language. It's a different language. Men and women, how they talk and relate is totally different. So when I'm on the job site and talking to men, it's like that movie with Clint Eastwood and Gran Torino when he's in the barbershop trying to teach the kid how to be a man and be on a construction site. That's what it's really like. And that's how they talk, and I get right in there because I had a dad, and then I grew up with a lot of men and around, and so it's easy. I learned to communicate the same language, but they listen different when it's a woman standing there because there's almost a fear. It's weird. Yeah. So it's fun. I thought it was just me, but yeah. Uh,
All right. So if someone is thinking about getting into the construction business, whether it's retail or not retail, commercial or residential, what are some of the skills or qualities that you would say that they need to work on in preparation?
but to getting into business, yeah.
Well, specifically into commercial or residential construction,
Oh,
design,
yeah.
architecture, so forth.
Okay. Well, gosh, commercial, you got to know your stuff and you got to have training. So commercial architecture and design, you have to be work with a company usually and you're working with a larger team, and to learn that trade, if you ever want to go on your own, you always have to have your experience under your belt. The 7 years would be great. But it's just like a lawyer or a doctor, 4 to 7 years before you can actually go on your own, you need the experience. So you have to have the architecture and design background to fit that. And then commercial contracting, is experience in that arena. And again, you would work for a company that specializes in that. But if you're a woman or a man looking for a job to learn that, get a job in project management or construction management. And you could take classes in construction management. So I always push construction management, for a career choice. But the new thing would be is if you could get a degree in architecture and design or one or the other, so you could read plans out the gate and then get a job in construction management, they could be like me. So, but no one seems to want to do all three. So, but it really boils down to project management. But to do project management, you have to know how the city works, how the plans are drawn and why they're drawn that way, and what engineers you need and how to build it. So you got to have all that knowledge to be able to do the job. So anyway, yeah.
Awesome. All right. So if you could give yourself advice when you first started out in the industry, when you were 20, 21, 22, what advice would you give to young Julie Laughton if you could?
Well, I would just say, believe in yourself. Don't listen to the voice in your head. Don't be nervous. Just believe in yourself. You got this, basically. So I didn't, so don't second guess yourself.
I love it. All right. So, quite a journey. What would you say is in front of Julie Laughton now? You've got over 30 years in the industry. You're now 35 years old. And
I'm thinking that every day.
what is next for you? What are the hopes and dreams for Julie Laughton Design Build?
Well, I want to leave a legacy and I want to tell the world, or at least the nation, that what I did is possible because I just proved it. I did it. You can be the designer, the architect, the contractor, and all that as one person. You can oversee the project. And if you can't actually get all those degrees and all those licenses, just to be a project manager and know how that works, and be a construction manager that actually saves someone a hassle with their home remodel would be so great, or their new construction, because when you build a new home, there's 7 to 10 people you have to hire. And it'd be neat if you had one person that managed it all for you, right? Because that one person is supposed to save you from disaster and help you talk to all these people, because everybody speaks a different language. Architects and engineers, you don't know what they're talking about half the time. So it's a whole thing about that. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Julie, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and experiences today. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. This is fun.